Welcome to another showdown, everybody.
Showdown with a difference.
At the moment, when we're filming this, there is a lot of releases going on. TaylorMade just released the new Stealth 2 driver. So I thought today we would compare the Stealth 2, and you've brought in
The Stealth 1.
We've got these set at 9-degree heads. I've just been through a fitting with them and got them into actually like 7 degrees, which we're both launching them quite well, aren't we?
Yeah, about 14, 15, so that's fine.
So ultimately, what is our goal with this?
Especially with the Stealth, there's not a great deal of difference this year. And if you've not seen the review of the Stealth that Dan did, check that up here and that will tell you all the tech and everything. We will cover that in this video, but it will tell you more in depth. But in the grand scheme of things, there's not a big difference. So we're going to have a ball speed off and find out if we've got a difference in ball speeds between this and this, because tech is very similar, looks are very similar. So, you know, is there an advancement in ball speed over the old Stealth?
So we'll talk about what they look and feel like to us and which one we probably pick out of each. But ultimately, the goal is which one wins.
Yeah.
And it's only going to be in ball speed. What potential have these drivers got?
100%, yeah.
Okay, well, let's hit some shots. Let's give a little bit of tech in the differences in them, and let's see who wins.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the Stealth, the original Stealth. And when I first saw these come into the shop when I was at Dartmouth, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the looks of them. TaylorMade for me have always been a brand that have shouted loud, there's been bright colours, and this was a little bit muted. But I got it in that the whole purpose of the club was about the face. So it was the introduction of the carbon wood era. So the red face, it was all about making this the most prominent point of the whole driver. So I understood why the head and everything else was a little bit muted in its colour, and obviously it was called the Stealth, so it had to be black anyway. But as a driver, I'd never really sort of tested this model, and now Dan's put it in 7 degrees, I feel I don't want to test it either, because it's not a driver in this sort of setting that I would use. But down at the ball, it looks great, it's a nice pear shape, it's just not loud enough for me to be a TaylorMade. And then when it came to the sound and the feel of the club, I was a little bit like, well, what is this going to feel like? What's this going to sound like? Because it's nothing I've ever seen in my lifetime, this carbon face. Is it going to be tinny? Is it going to be thuddy? So I was really interested and excited to hear what that would sound like. And what you actually get is a really nice sound. So it sounds a lot like other drivers that have got carbon within the structure of their sort of head. So you get a nice thud, but there's that little bit of, like a little bit of a ting to it when you hit a good one. And then we move into the Stealth 2, which, let's be honest, it's kind of a little bit more shouty when it comes to TaylorMade, with this sort of red frame at the back, going back to where Sim 2 really was. But all in all, it looks pretty much the same as the Stealth, except it's got a glossy crown as opposed to a matte crown. Do I like it anymore? I don't. It doesn't bother me either way, to be honest. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, I probably enjoy the matte over the gloss. But what you do see now it's glossy is that Stealth accent a lot more around that crown. Sound and feel, I don't think I'm going to absolutely feel anything different. And you don't feel any difference for me across either of these two drivers. It's the same face apart from a small change, which we'll talk about in the tech. But all in all, for me, they're pretty much the same driver. But the big question is, are we going to see any difference when it comes to ball speed?
Well, Lee, I'm going to start with the Stealth as well. And the reason I'm going to start with the Stealth is because I don't think I've ever really hit this club. I can't remember the looks of it. So it's going to be quite interesting to see the difference between what this one looks like compared to what I've already tested in the Stealth 2. So to me, the Stealth looks exactly the same as the old Sim, just obviously a slightly different colour. Got that little rail kind of round the kind of top of it, which kind of came into TaylorMade back in the sort of M series, M1s and M2s. I remember seeing that kind of rail there. And then what they've done is they've just thinned it out. So putting that carbon crown on top, a little bit of that Stealth look on the top as well, which actually quite nicely blends in on this particular model. I actually really like it. I think this is a good looking driver. And listening to what Lee just, when he hit those last 2 shots with those 2 different clubs there, I actually felt like this one sounded a little bit more, almost a bit tinnier than what I'm sounding out of the Stealth 2. Just behind the camera there watching Lee, So for me, I do like the idea of the carbon feel off the face, to be fair. And like Lee says, looks-wise, when I move into the Stealth 2, the shape of them almost identical. The only thing different looking down at it from my eyes is, like Lee said, we have the carbon kind of matte finish on the Stealth compared to the glossy kind of look on the Stealth number 2. And you can read that Stealth, it's quite standoutish in this one. I think I prefer it more in the older one compared to the new one. I don't really want, I want it cleaner on top for me. And I think the number 1 does that a little bit better than the number 2. But from a footprint point of view, I think it looks identical when I look down at it, very pear-shapey. And now, almost like, you know, where we've been handling the club, there's almost like the thumbprints of our hands kind of on the club, which you're not going to get that in the Stealth 1. You're certainly seeing it more in the glossy look of the Stealth 2. So for me, with a little bit of OCD, I think I'd probably want to just clean that off a little bit every time I hit it, which you could probably get away with that in the Stealth 1. And that sound that I got when I was behind the camera watching Lee hit some shots, it's kind of now come into the feel from these two. I'm feeling as though the number 1 is maybe a little bit tinnier off the face, whereas we've got a duller, much duller sound off the Stealth 2. And I think I prefer the Stealth 2 over the Stealth for that.
So if we're going to talk tech, we might as well just talk about them both together, because they're both very, very similar when it comes to their technologies. So in both drivers, you've got 60 times carbon twist face. That's 60 layers of carbon sort of fused together, which makes the face of the driver. The difference between the two is the new Stealth 2 has a 2 gram lighter face. So that's your main difference between the two. You get a sliding rail on both of these drivers. The difference being there's a 10 gram on the Stealth, there's a 15 gram on the Stealth 2. And also there is an advancement in the inverted cone technology which comes to the Stealth 2. That's the ripples behind the face that you may have seen on some sort of marketing pictures. And that's just there to sort of aid ball speed across the whole face. Carbon crowns on both completely adjustable, and both have the inertia generator at the back, which is a lot more prominent on the Stealth 2. All in all, very similar drivers with very small changes, and the difference is are we seeing these now when it comes to the actual ball speed and performance of these drivers?
Well, thinking about the performance, Lee, I'm going to start off with my numbers, and we're going to start off with the Stealth. I've never hit the Stealth, so it would be good to see what I'm getting out of this driver. Average ball speed, 153.3. My best, 154.6. And I've got to say, that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to most drivers that I've been testing recently. If we look at spin now, 1984 revs on an average, so that's quite low. So I would want to look at trying to manage that maybe a little bit better, get it up to certainly closer to 2,200, 300 revs, ideally. But if we look at my average carry, 268, with my best one coming out at around 275. But with the biggest ball speed at 154, my carry there is at 271. Now moving into the Stealth 2, and my average ball speed with this club is at 156.3. So I've gained 3 miles an hour off the face of this driver. Now, the spin is at 2.4. So I'm absolutely, this is right in my window now of where I want it to be. I can manage it at 2.4. When I get it low in the 2000s, early 2000s, it's a harder club to manage. But my carry on an average, it's at 268. My best carry there, which was a little left, up the top, is at 283. Now, the last two shots number 23 and 24, they were actually after the testing, really. What I've done there is I got super excited and I just wanted to get more out of it because this driver is hot off the face. And you can see there, my longest there at 158.2 and my longest carry at 283 yards.
Okay, so if we move on to my numbers then, and we'll start with the Stealth. Average ball speed, 156. Now, there is shot 3 was 144, complete miss hit. In the interest of fairness, I'm going to take that out, but I just want to keep it in for this. So that puts my average ball speed up to 158.9. It's there or thereabouts, around 160 is where I'd be wanting to play it. Spin down at 1688 revs, completely unplayable for me. I'm not the greatest, straightest driver in the world with this kind of driver, and that would just make it completely unplayable. But an average carry yardage of 277. Fastest ball speed, 162.1. So I was trying to up the ball speed as we went through onto this. We then move into the Stealth 2. My average is 162.4. So my average ball speed is better than my best ball speed when it came to the Stealth. My best there being 165.7, which was the first shot I hit with the Stealth 2. Spin now at 2,400. It is a little bit up and down, but an average carry of 279. But the first shot I hit there with the Stealth 2, carry of 303 yards. I know it's 20 yards to the left of fairway. Let's say the average fairway is 40 yards wide. It's only just actually missing the fairway. It was a great drive. All in all, I think the Stealth 2 is a lot quicker, but then I want it to be a little bit fairer because I thought I've got to be able to get more out of the Stealth. So then I took 2 more shots with the Stealth, really trying to up the ball speed, and I just couldn't do it. That one there at 155 miles an hour, felt like I'd knuckled it, and I just cannot get it anywhere near that Stealth 2 when it comes to ball speed.
What are you thinking then?
Well, I'm thinking I'd play neither. Okay. In this setting. They're not set up for me, but this was all about out and out ball speed.
Yeah.
And if I was in a long drive contest or in something where I just needed to produce bombs, there is no question on earth the Stealth 2 would be the driver I would pick. I don't know what it is. I don't know how we've done it, but it is so much, it's so hot. It is 3.5 miles an hour. It's a lot of miles an hour as an average than that. And it's only 2 grams lighter. Well, 2 grams means a lot in this driver.
I gotta say, I was properly shocked when I came down and did the testing of this Stealth 2 driver. Like I was down here in the studio, Lee was up in the office editing, and I even phoned you.
Excited.
Because it just, I don't know what was going on that day or whatever, but I was up and my longest one that I got out of it was actually a 159.
Yeah.
I have never got anything up in around 159. I know I've been having golf lessons recently and trying to change things, but with all the other comparing testing that I've done in the studio here with other clubs
on the same day,
yeah. I'm not getting anywhere near it. I'm there or thereabouts with all the other stuff that I've tested, but this driver just, I agree with you. I don't know what it is about this driver, but something's happening with it, and it's definitely hotter. It's definitely hotter.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's not a forgiving driver, but this is the plus model. It's not there for forgiveness, but if you're a good driver, an elite player, and you want to hit it further,
this has got to be tested. I don't say that about a lot of drivers, but I say test them if you want to test them. You've got to test this driver.
Yeah,
got to give it a go.
We're going to be doing some comparisons on driver ball speed.
Yeah,
I don't think we're beating that with anything.
We'll see.
Be interesting, but it sent the benchmark early.
Yeah. I'd like to know, we would like to know, what do you think about the Stealth 2 driver? Is it something you will consider testing yourselves? Down there in the comments, we'd like to hear. And also, Lee, what else do they need to do?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
It's down there.
Down there.
It's free. Costs you nothing.
Don't forget, like Lee says, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and we're going to see everyone again, well, probably in a couple of days' time on the next video.
When we've recovered from it at least.
Yeah.